Welcome everybody to week 16 fantasy football and DFS outlook.
Let's go. Playoff time.
It
Playoff
is.
time.
Yes,
All
it is.
around the world. In
Push,
college
push, push.
football, playoff time.
Fantasy
Fantasy
football.
football, playoff time. I'm sure there's some people sweating right now as we speak. But I'm talking about myself here a little bit as we go through this playoff game. But we'll see what happens.
I did see your opponent left Tank Dell on the bench. Shout out to Tank Dell. I hope he's okay.
Yeah.
I watched that and it looked bad, like his knee, like his kneecap got popped out of place at first because it was kind of setting off to the side. And then the slow-mo replay, I just had, I don't know, I had a little bit of Alex Smith kind of type vibes. Hopefully it wasn't like that bad, but they put him in a full-on like air cast all the way up to the like above his knee. So
yeah, that one was rough, and he had just came off of a pretty bad injury. Not last year, but the year before.
It was last year. It was last year.
It was okay.
He broke that fibia. He broke his fibia last year, or was it? Yeah, it's fibia, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the tough part about it. You hate to see those.
And he was shot. He was shot in the off season.
And he was
shot in the leg in the off season, and so like the kid has had a
not funny, but man,
he's had a rough go of it. But the craziest thing I've seen today is people are hating on CJ Stroud for crying, like the crying and the emotion and shit. I'm like, dude, like, I don't get it. I mean, I get like you got to be people like machismo type shit, but like at the same time, like dude's just showing emotion because like his friend that was having a great game and had a bad break last year, literally, and this year had another one, and he was coming into his own, and at the same time, like he's like, shit, who I have to throw the ball to now? Like Nico's all I got left.
I think it was maybe just the sort of duration for the amount of time that he was. I think every time they kept showing the camera, he was still kind of crying a little bit. And I think, unfortunately, with social media, they're just that's just red meat, and they're gonna find a reason to criticize. You got to keep that masculine approach. And
I mean, we are the society though that has a freaking filter on what is it, TikTok or Snapchat, one of the social media platforms that is literally a crying filter, right? Like you put it on your face and it's like, come on now, like let's just be real. So, I'm not over there crying about his leg. I would be crying about his leg if I probably was on the field. I'm like, son of a bitch, your leg is hanging there by a thread, literally. Your pants is what's holding your leg on. So probably in the grand scheme of things, but I don't know. Shout out to Tank. So I hope he gets better.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, and then
it turned the whole game. It turned the whole game too. I think you missed the field goal attempt shortly. It just turned the whole momentum of the game. Unfortunately, you hate when that happens.
Yeah,
you hate when an injury is what turns the momentum of a game, not just the actual activity within the game. So,
yeah, and that's the thing. Momentum, right? It was end of the day. That's what ended up being the game, and so, but talk about. I mean, we know we've had two NFL games today. We had the Chiefs winning, and then Baltimore.
I think they're up currently, right? Last I saw, I think it was what 34, 17.
Yeah, when I think it's over now. Yeah, it's 34-17. 34-17 final. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So
literally fell
to that matchup.
I fell for the Rashad Bateman injury news, and this morning when I made the lineups, I was like, he's not going to play. He's been in a boot, like literally. He's not going to play. So I was like, all right.
What up, Tip Major?
What's up, Tip? Boo the Chiefs.
They pulled it out again. Found
boo this man. Boo this man. Yeah. Boo the Chiefs. Tip's a Raiders fan. Yeah.
Nice.
Sorry.
Well, y'all may be sneaking into a nice little pick So just hang on. Maybe walk away with Shadur Sanders or something like that. So the future could be bright in Raider Nation.
Speaking of tips here, I was messaging him earlier. He was talking about how, and we said it here before, like about Mark Andrews, and everybody was dumping Mark Andrews, right? At the beginning of the season, we kept telling you, don't dump Mark Andrews. Mark
Nope.
Andrews is gonna be Mark Andrews eventually. And what does he do today?
Scored
Scores.
another touchdown.
Like,
Yeah.
you don't, like, we literally said it. I've seen Tip say it before. We've said it before. Why Mark's gonna mark eventually.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson gonna find him. They literally scored a touchdown with Likely and Mark Andrews. In a world where Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry can coexist, two tight ends on the field can coexist, right? So
Yep.
that was he's gonna mess around and be league winners, you know. Yeah, literally 4 games in a row, like what he says, 4 games in a row with a touchdown. So
Well, I will hope for all the people in their fantasy playoffs that they didn't bench. Whoever does have Andrews didn't bench him this week because the matchup was definitely, a possibility given the fact that Steelers defense, as it ends up working out, it ends up being that case. And so sometimes you can't necessarily go to the receivers with Porter on that other side over there. So definitely a tight end matchup was a good one. So paying off.
yeah, definitely. And like I said, I know we had NFL games today, but you alluded to it before. We don't usually talk about it, but college football. I went on the KC show last night and we did some college
Yep.
picks. We picked
Yep. Who'd you go with?
games. I picked SMU today and I picked Indiana last night. Okay, I'm gonna justify the fact of I thought Indiana was gonna be better than what they were, and they looked like shit.
No, I saw
SMU
that
got
coming.
SMU got blowed out. Again, my whole thing was SMU's only there was to validate Clemson being in the playoff because
Yeah.
obviously they were the ACC champion. And what does Clemson do? They get beat by 14 for Texas. That game just went final as well, 24-38 Texas.
Shadow is wicked. We got you right at the end. We're gonna do a whole question and answer,
And
and
then
we'll
some of
get
those
you.
might kind of fall in. Those might fall
Some
into
of them
place.
definitely are
Yeah,
falling
fall into
through in this
place. Yeah,
into the slate tonight. So we'll hit some of those like Thielen,
yeah.
MHJ. So if you just
Ford will
hang with
probably
us,
be in there for sure
yep, Ford in the Cleveland matchup. So if you hang with us, we might even answer that question sort of as we're
as we
going
go
through it.
along. Yeah.
So
So,
definitely got a nice little pre-Christmas matchup.
but yeah,
Late.
the college playoff has
But yeah,
been
jumping back into that.
the college playoff has already started off crazy. Notre Dame, we get them. My Georgia Bulldogs get them in the Sugar Bowl. So on the first. So
I saw the Notre Dame and where that was going. I just felt that was just too much. The Indiana sort of, Indiana versus Indiana in the sense that they're both in Indiana. Just the tradition. I mean, thousands of people on the other side, the Madhouse Rock, and that's a lot. We have to remember that these are mostly, young adults and going into that environment for the first time in the playoff game. That's
yeah,
tough. The same thing in Penn State, SMU, really got out really slow. The quarterback had a horrible game, but again, when you have 100,000 people screaming, you can't even hear the play call. So, I mean, I know that has to be a lot.
I think that says more about how bad the ACC is, compared to how good Penn State is. Because when I was looking at it, like SMU only lost, like the games that they only lost by like 3 points and
Yep.
like 6 total points between the both games, and they beat up on teams that are actual football schools like Pitt and stuff like that, right? So like, and obviously it's in the ACC, so I think that's the thing. So hey, Paco,
Yep.
we'll get to your question at the end. If you have any other
We got you.
information like PPR, how many people are in your league, those kinds of things, a little bit more fill in on your roster, that might help us a little bit to answer the question. So But you might get the answers when we talk about the slate
For at
too as
least
well.
one of them, I think, is on the our slate. Garrett is on the slate, so we'll definitely be touching on Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, sure. So since we already getting fired up with questions, I guess we can hop
Get this party started.
into the first game we have on the docket. Now, if you're new to the podcast, we don't initially go through all of the games on the slate because we'd be here for all night long. So we go through the few handful that have a kind of thresholds 45.5 to 46, because that works best for when it comes down to fantasy points for DFS purposes. And usually if you're in one of these lower scoring ball games, you're going to play the guys that from those games anyway. And so we will talk about them. We will answer questions about them, but we may not specifically key on like for example, the Jaguars and the Raiders game. We're not talking about that game. The game's 40 points and no one really cares about it except for Brad, and because he's a Jags fan. So
because I have Brock Bowers as well.
Yes, Brock Bowers.
But I'm going to play. He's chalk. But
fan.
That's what we were saying earlier, though. He's chalk, and you're going to play him regardless of the situation, regardless of the scenario. But yep.
But those kinds of low scoring, nobody really cares about the Giants and the Falcons, other than the fact that we're going to get to see Michael Penix play for the first time. So
pretty much
those kinds of things we're not going to really touch on. We may throw a little bit here and there, but the first one that's on the docket, it is
what we got?
The Battle of Ohio, the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. So there's a lot of shit that could happen. The Bengals could still squeeze into the playoffs. They still are playing for a playoff berth, but they have to have a lot of things happen.
A lot.
And the Browns.
I think this Ravens win does that help or hurt them? I guess I got to go back and look.
I think it does help them. They need it, but they need like losses from like the Broncos, and they need a couple other losses here and there, random losses.
Gotcha.
But it was like a 12% chance or something like that they could make it in the playoffs. They're not completely dead, but I think if they lose here, they're dead. But I don't see them losing to this Browns team. I mean, they're favored by 9 points. They're a 9-point favorite in Cincinnati.
Man, and that is a spread for you right there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
The Browns bench. They're benching Jameis Winston for DTR.
Do they have any injuries? What's the injuries for this one? That was what I feel is going to shape kind of my overall opinion then, because I knew that it was on the fence with the quarterback situation. But is there any other injuries out there?
So Martin Emerson, one of their starting corners was limited in practice. He's questionable with a concussion, so I don't know if he's gone through protocol yet or not. Shelby Harris, their number one defensive tackle, is out with an elbow injury. David Njoku is questionable with a hamstring injury. He was limited in practice on Friday. Cedric Tillman also questionable, still with that concussion. I don't know if he's passed through protocol yet. And Jameis is questionable, but they've already made the decision that they're going with DTR or whatever. Yeah, isn't DTR? That what his initials are? Yeah, DTR, Dorian Thompson Robinson out of UCLA. So I feel like this is Kevin Stefanski's kind of grasping at straws. Like, okay, well, Jameis just, as we've seen before, and we've said, if Jameis Winston was playing in this game, I would like people from Cleveland more than I do right now. I think obviously Jerry Jeudy, you can see he's kind of out of the picture here. Well, he's been great in the picture recently, and now he's kind of he's going to slide out of the picture with Robinson, coming in. Because
Judy's having one of his best, I think the best, probably statistical year of his career, which is funny as it goes along with Jameis Winston, but he's actually having a great year to change the quarterbacks here. Definitely, you could potentially see some the target share start to drop down.
Here, I mean, a lot of people are seeing, obviously, right now, as it sits, that no one's really looking at this game quarterback-wise because they feel like as if Joe Burrow is not going to have to throw the ball that much because they're going to be out in front. and this could be like a runaway train game. I mean, they have Cincinnati as 27 and 3/4 a point team total, which is the second highest on the slate behind the Bills. So obviously Vegas is seeing that Cincinnati is going to put up points here.
Yep.
And nobody's targeting this game. So
well, the last matchup, the Bengals won that one 21-14. So definitely under that 46.5 total there. And so maybe that's what's sort of pulling people away from this matchup as well, is that I know Vegas is seeing it a little bit higher, probably due to the quarterback change. But just sometimes, as I've said in the past, these division matchups get a little closer than sort of what you would think they would be, just given the matchups and the rankings, but they usually play each other closer from the divisional matchup standpoint. I mean, again, I would love to have be able to say from the Brown side, Judy. If not Judy, then Njoku. But with Njoku battling a hamstring issue, that makes me a little worrisome. But because Njoku's had 2 games of 22 plus fantasy points in the game, so he has the potential
against Cincinnati. One was
to
against
go off.
Cincinnati. Yeah.
But then I'm always wary, especially with the hamstring. It's cold out. That just makes me a little bit worrisome about that. So it's kind of tough from that side. Of course, from the Bengals side, of course, you're gonna love your Chase, who's had multiple games of plus 20 points fantasy wise, multiple target shares. But I think eventually, if you want to kind of get off of that, to go Higgins here. He had 5 and 8 and for 88 yards and a touchdown in his last game. He's had 4 games with plus 10 targets per. This looks like a matchup that's a little bit more friendly from when they're going to air it out tomorrow for the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean,
What's up, Mr. Magic?
What's up, Magic? So like I think this could be one that you could sit on. You could sit on Joe Burrow here. Like, it just, nobody's on him. He's 3% owned. I mean, like I said, Phil would probably have better insight on it than me, but I think that that's the reason why people are not on this game, because they don't think that it's going to play to what it should. So
you have to be loving this matchup as a Chase Brown, as a
an
Chase
owner
Brown
myself.
fantasy
Yes,
owner,
yes.
right? It looks like it's going to be that type of a matchup. Definitely going to try to run the ball.
I mean, he's the second highest owned running back in fantasy tomorrow, behind Jahmyr Gibbs, who we'll talk about later. But I mean, you can see that the reason why it's because he's involved in both phases of the game, right? Literally, he's getting catches, he's running the ball great. And the thing is Cleveland's not been getting beat up by the run, though. That's the thing. Their defense is actually pretty decent against the run. They're like the 5th best defense or something like that in the league right now against the run. But Chase Brown, dude, is on the field like 62% of the snaps. So like last week, he was on the field like 93% of the snaps. So like he's not succeeding any touches to Khalil Herbert, and they're just giving it, like he's giving all the snaps, right? So what's up, Civid? So that I do like him here. I like T. Higgins as well, like you said, but I mean, of course, the guy on the screen, Jamar Chase, is Jamar Chase, and
he's going to play him.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, but he's the 4th highest owned wide receiver. The problem with that being is where, like Phil would say, he's 8,500, and you're gonna need you're gonna need that 35-ish to get value. And this game, if this game is low and Chase Brown is running the ball, this could be an easy fade of Jamar Chase. Now, it could be the fact that he hits 70 points again or 50 points, whatever. But against this division rival, the game's probably going to be slow. I think it plays under this 46.5 points because of the fact that, like, they're gonna just
they're gonna
shut it. And then if they're out in front, this game's gonna be okay. Jamar, like you see, Civid says it right here that he might not even be needed in the second half if this gets away from them and DTR's throwing more interceptions or fumbling or whatever than Jameis Winston and not getting the ball down the field. So I don't.
So do
like
you
it at all.
think that the Burrow sort of streak of 3+ touchdowns comes to an end then tomorrow here? Or do you see him going over that 3+?
I'm trying to think. What was it when they played before? They played in week 7. He had 14 fantasy points. He had 2 touchdowns. So that was the last time that he didn't have 3 touchdowns in a game. Or actually, excuse me, when they played Philadelphia the week after that, but he had 2 against Cleveland before. He still had 108 passer rating. So, but 14 points.
Yeah.
I don't really know. Yeah, I mean seriously, he could have 3 before and I think, but what I'm saying is Joe Burrow is a better play here. But then having to pay for Jamar Chase. So if you're running Joe Burrow and you're running a Joe Burrow stack, I think that it's almost beneficial. And now, like I said, this is just me thinking out loud. Maybe T. Higgins paired with Joe Burrow, and maybe the Chase Brown stack as well. If you want to eat that chalk.
How much is Chase Brown going for on the daily?
Chase Brown he's 8,200, so he's expensive too.
Wow.
And they're because like I'm saying, everybody they're seeing it right now. He is the actually no, I lied. He's 7,700. Excuse me.
Still a bit high.
7,700. So he is higher cost than Jahmyr Gibbs and James Conner and James Cook and dudes that other guys that we're going to talk about here. But he's higher owned as well. So he's, like I said, he's the second highest owned running back behind Jahmyr Gibbs. And the reason why Jahmyr Gibbs is owned more is because of obviously his matchup and he costs less. So I think that this literally lends itself to, if you're going to go with the Joe Burrow, you need to run him, pivot off the Jamar Chase chalk, because you can pivot off his cost and his chalk as well, and run your T. Higgins at 6,800, possibly, so, and then maybe the Chase Brown if you want.
Ford, how much is Jerome Ford? Because I saw he got up with 18.4 points fantasy. Sort of once kind of Chubb came out. I think that was last week.
Yeah, because he blasted off like 80-yard run or something like that.
I think that's what it was. And but I think when you're starting that sort of backup quarterback, a lot of times they like the dump offs as well.
56. So, he's 5,600 and he's only 5% owned, and that's a good thought, because that's what they're going to have to go to. And obviously, like you said, the dump offs from Robinson as well. I'm trying to think when he's started a game this season, didn't he? I'm trying to think. I swear he did.
Believe so. And then they went back to.
That's when they went to Winston, right?
I think Winston came in. Then the next week or the week after,
he started against Cincinnati.
Yep.
He started in week 7 against Cincinnati. So he went 11 completions for 24 attempts for 82 yards. He had 2 interceptions, and he had 3 rushing attempts for 44 yards. So that was the game.
That makes me feel like getting the Bengals defense after you gave me those stats there a little bit, man. Civic, we got you at the end on the neighbors question. Just hang with us. We got you.
Yeah, we're gonna go through we'll go through our little slate here, and then we'll answer all of your questions in the process. Yeah, for real. I'm trying to see what he did against Jerome Ford. Man, Jerome Ford did not play in the last matchup against Cincinnati. So, but against Kansas City he had 18.4 points, and then against Vegas in week 4, and then the Giants, and then of course against Dallas. I mean, It's really nobody else back there besides Pierre Strong, and then might run in Dante Foreman.
Yeah.
But
Just watch out for him. I like that price total. But also on the flip side, watch out for the Bengals defense as well. Seems like they gave him some fits the last time they played him. So that could be definitely, but because I definitely like the Bengals overall though to take this matchup tomorrow. But I don't know about that 46.5. I think it plays under that.
100% think it plays into that for sure. I mean, the Jerome Ford play is a nice play, though. I mean, I think that's for 5,600. You might could get him in, and he's going to be the
Yeah.
only thing they've got, right? I mean, Jerry Jeudy
pass.
Jerry Jeudy he's been on the field 88% of the snaps, and last week was 95% of the snaps. So he's getting it, and he's getting 40% target share, 20% on the season, but like 42, and it's gone up. I think that he's possible. It's possible for him. And the Bengals defense is against the pass is pretty bad. But Robinson is just the scary part to me. Like, is Jeudy going to be what you need him to be, or do you look to somebody if you're looking to get invested in this Browns, like as a bringback or somebody like Elijah Moore instead, who is more of like kind of gimmicky as opposed to Jerry Jeudy, who is just the straight line wide receiver, where they get Elijah Moore on those sweeps and
Elijah Moore broke the slate the last time, but that was with Winston though, wasn't it? I wonder if that was
he
the
was
same
on the, he's
thing. I
been in the
know he
millie.
showed
He's
up
been in
on
the
the
millie, yeah,
millie.
for sure. Yeah.
It's just sort of one of those get different. If there's a lot loaded up on Jeudy, this might be another game where going with Elijah Moore might be the get different play.
Yes. Yeah. And then it's possible maybe the Jordan Akins play, if no Njoku, Jordan Akins, the tight end. The Bengals are the worst team in the league against the tight end. I don't know. He's 3,200. He's not very high owned, obviously, again, because the quarterback. So I think this is obviously a runaway train to the the Bengals here. Like, I think that they run away with this, and feel bad for Myles Garrett because I feel like dude deserves so much better. But
yeah, I agree.
I think, and 9 points, that seems like a lot, but I don't think it gets this 46.5, and I think it's because the Browns don't score. So we'll move to the next one.
On to the next one.
So this is another 46.5. 3 points to the Rams. They're the 3-point favorites on the road against the Jets.
Before we get into this, have you seen the new Aaron Rodgers documentary on Netflix by chance? Because I've got to see about a little over 1.5 episodes. It's actually really cool. Get the chance to see another side of him a little bit.
I have not. I know that they were talking about it like on the Pat McAfee show, and shout out to Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show talking shit about Ryan Clark, because Ryan Clark was talking shit about him. I don't know if you've seen that, but
I have not seen that.
if you go down that rabbit hole and listen to these two dudes talk shit about one another, and like it's insanity. Like, obviously everybody thinks Aaron Rodgers is crazy, and Ryan Clark is going off on him, and then says he's gonna pull up. Ryan Clark was gonna pull up in South Bend at game day up on Pat McAfee because Pat McAfee has Aaron Rodgers on. I'm like, bro, what the fuck is going on? So it was ESPN is just a bunch of damn divas, man. It's like the whole group just doesn't like one another. I don't know, man. But a little injury here's absolutely nobody on the injury report for the Rams. None. For The Jets, Braylon Allen is questionable with a back injury, but he was full go in practice. Michael Carter the second, excuse me. Their nickel corner is out with a back injury. Leaky Fotu, one of their defensive tackles, is questionable with a knee. Elijah Vera Tucker, their right guard, questionable with the ankle injury. Quinnen Williams, their number one defensive tackle, questionable with a hamstring and did not practice. So those are two pretty hefty guys right there that they could be without. One did practice and one did not practice. What's up, Casey?
What's up, Casey?
What's up, buddy?
No Quinnen Williams makes me feel like I need to go with another Williams in this matchup going on the other side. And Kyron Williams, man, if that defensive tackle's not sitting in the middle to blow it up, that definitely makes me feel better about the run game.
I mean, he is questionable, and he did not play. He did not practice, so that's possible that he's not there. I mean, Kyron's sitting down here at less than 10% owned, obviously, because the Jets they're pretty good against the run because of Quinnen Williams.
Top 15 in the league.
Let's see something here. Kyron. But again,
we did see that Tank Dell injury. We talked about that a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I try being a fan. Try being the fan and like just watching it and wanting to cry with CJ Stroud. Let's see. Kyron Williams, obviously, he's been on the field like 85%, 85% of the season, and he's had 75% of the rush center, 75% of the rushes. So Blake Corum is starting to slowly kind of cut in here and there, but if Quinnen Williams does not play, I think that just serves up a great smash point for Kyron Williams, in the fact that he's going to run the ball. But if Phil was here, he'd be like, okay, well, we're not going to Cooper Kupp here at all because of what Cooper Kupp has done for me recently. Right. But this points to say the guy that you would not play Cooper Kupp for, Puka Nacua, is the highest owned wide receiver on the slate. So,
and as much as the production hasn't been 100% there has been games where he's had Cooper Kupp has had multiple, games of plus 10 targets per game. Sometimes it just hasn't been working out from the fantasy and sort of overall performance perspective, but they have been trying to work him into the offense and keep him steady going. I wonder if this is finally that game where he may actually end up having a better performance with Sauce Gardner might end up going against
he will probably get
Nacua, most likely. Yeah. So then that could potentially kind of work into those numbers. So that's where, if you again wanted to go against that would be a smart move. You also got, Tutu Atwell, Parkinson at the tight end position. So there's definitely some sort of options to go away from that. If you still do like this Rams Jets matchup. The last time they played, I saw that the Jets won 23-20, but it was a few years ago, so it's kind of hard to compare. But I want to kind of go in the history books, kind of see, as this matchup doesn't seem that much, it doesn't play that much. And so, but the interesting thing here is, though, that I don't like necessarily the 46.5. I think it does end up playing a little bit under, maybe to the 43 point range.
I'm just trying to see let's see.
I'm still liking Sauce Gardner. He may not be as dominating as he was when he first came into the league, but I think some of it's got to do with just the overall morale of the team a little bit kind of going down. But I still think he's a top 5 corner in the league.
I mean, Cooper Kupp's probably worth the price, because if you're trying to pivot off of Puka here, because he's going to draw Sauce Gardner. I think that Isaiah Oliver, who Cooper Kupp will get out of the slot, should make for a better matchup. Obviously, he's getting obviously like 17% of the target shares and snap. So it's still he's run the second most routes of anybody on the team behind Demarcus Robinson, who's run like 400 some on routes right now. But I would I'd feel more confident. This might be the week, like you said, this might be the week that you could play Cooper Kupp just to pivot off of the Puka Nacua chalk. Obviously, if you have Puka Nacua in season long, you're hoping to God that he's going to live up to what he's done over the past several weeks here. But
agree.
On the other side of the ball,
yep.
What's insane to me is no one loves Garrett Wilson right now. Like, he is 6% owned when you have Devontae at double his ownership.
Yes. I agree with that statement. Garrett Wilson's had 4+ games this year with at least 10 targets in that game. They've consistently kept him a part of the game plan even after Devontae Adams kind of entered the scene. They have him projected at 14.8 fantasy points. Garrett Wilson tomorrow. I see him going over that. I really like this Rams matchup, and if Vegas is on to something with this 46.5 total, that means that that Rodgers and Co are going to have to air it out, whether it's some combination of Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. They're going to have to air it out. And Rodgers is coming off a 30-point fantasy game. I know it was against the Jags, so you can't necessarily say it's great, but he might be finding something. He might be finding something late.
The Garrett Wilson's on the field 98% of the snaps. He's literally and gets basically 26% of the target share. Right now, obviously, Devontae is kind of cut into that. They've swapped over the last couple weeks. But they're both have great matchups. But if I'm trying to pivot off that Devontae Adams chalk, I'm definitely going to Garrett Wilson here and praying that Devontae just doesn't, or that this game is a score fest and there's absolutely no defense played and it goes over.
Yep.
I that's what I'm thinking about the most here, because that's what you're wanting to look for. There, he's getting Devontae Adams comes out of the slot and routes. So let's see. I mean, Garrett Wilson's 35% air yards, so he's getting the yardage, and he's getting basically a piss poor corner that will be covering him. So I think I'm kind of salivating at the option to be able to play Garrett Wilson this week, especially hoping that this game goes over. And this is another one.
That was one of the questions. Kind of the guy, believe someone was asking. Yes, on the bench one with Paco.
London,
benching Walker, London, and Garrett. I like Garrett in that combo to keep. I think we can get into the question a little bit later, but I do like, again, Garrett in that combo tomorrow. I just think that the Rams defense middle of the pack versus the pass. Again, I just think that they're starting to air it out a little bit more, it seems now, with Aaron. Definitely coming off of the last game, even versus the Jaguars. They aired it out to really kind of find themselves. I think they go back to that same offensive scheme and game plan this week.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you need that Garrett is something that they need to use. And Walker, I'm throwing a blank here. Walker, which Walker? Oh, Kenny Walker.
Kenny, yeah.
That scares me even worse. Like that game, we're not talking about that game, but that game is one that could end up being a game that plays over. So we'll come back to that one, Paco, for sure, because I have thoughts about that. But here, I don't like either really one of the quarterbacks here. Aaron Rodgers has a good matchup again, but I don't know if he's worth the time. He's only 5,600. I'm not playing it season long. I hope to God you have somebody better. I really do. I hope that if you've made it into the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, God, you're lucky.
You're loaded somewhere else then.
Yes, obviously you're putting up points in places that you shouldn't be putting up points. So this could be, I think that you could get some exposure to Aaron Rodgers if you're max entering. I'm not playing him a single entry though. Like that's not like if you're one stop shop, he's absolutely not somebody that I want any love to. He's like, I guess maybe you could play him in single entry because he's like at this point where in his career, like, okay, I have like one mad gasp and I'm just trying to like dish it as much as I can. So he could blow up the slate and you could pay up because he's so cheap. You could pay up around him at 5,600. So I take that back. The defense, the pass defense for the Rams is not very good at all. It's like 24 in the league. So you could play him, but I definitely think if you're playing a mass entry tournament that he's eligible, especially in 20 max or maybe 150 for sure. So, but this is a 3 points, like I said, to the Rams
I like the Rams
in New York. The Rams have something to play for, obviously. Still think that they have a chance to get into the playoffs. Talking about playoffs. Rams are actually leading the division, so they need this game. They need this win. Jets are eliminated, so they ain't got nothing to play for it but to ruin other people's season at this point. So I'm gonna stick with the Rams, and I guess I'll say I say they cover the 3 points. So I think that's pretty good on that one. And the next game, this one doesn't actually hit our 46-point threshold, but I think that it has the potential to be one of the show stealers of the early morning or early slate just because of these two guys that are on the screen. And shout out to Casey and his Eagles, his birds. I hope not. For my sake. Actually, I have a bye. This week. I can't say anything. I have a bye this week. I just want to win the top points this week because I have 4 guys between both of these teams. So, Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith, Terry McLaurin, and Jaden Daniels. So, like, I need this game to go way over this 45 and a half.
Way over that 40.
Yes. Nobody's on this game at all. Like at all, because obviously what the Eagles defense has been doing to opposing quarterbacks and what really the Commanders defense has been doing. Obviously they've got Marshawn Lattimore. Where's Phil when you need him to tout the best corner that he would think about in the league. So but I give a little injuries here. Sidney Brown for the Eagles, safeties in concussion protocol. Britton Covey there. He's a punt returner, wide receiver, out with a neck injury. Bryce Huff, defensive end, out with a wrist injury for the Commanders. They thought they might get Jonathan Allen back because they opened the 21-day practice window, the defensive tackle, but he's still not out. He's still out with that pec injury. Starting safety, Jeremy Chin, questionable with a concussion. And Zach Ertz, also questionable with a concussion and a shoulder injury. So he's limited in practice. So keep those in mind.
In the last matchup, the Eagles defeated the Redskins 26-18. And so just trying to get a better feel for sort of what this matchup might kind of give us. And I kind of see it being similar to that. I mean, both defenses are ranking in, above top 15 defenses. And so this just could lend to more of a run friendly type of a matchup, definitely from the Hurts side of camp. I could definitely see Hurts having more of the rushes, a little bit more than what he's done in the past. I saw he's had multiple games now with at least 5 to 8 rushing attempts in those games. So he's starting to kind of pick it up here a little bit as we kind of move through the season. I think they were just trying to keep him healthy. But so from the two guys on the screen there, I do like Hurts a little bit more, just because I think that Eagles defense is a bit more stronger, and that front for the Eagles is a bit better
What
than
is
the Commanders side.
Jalen Hurts has the most 1-yard rushing touchdowns of any quarterback all time, or if he gets one, it's either he has it, he just got it, or will get it if he
That's
wins.
crazy.
He gets a touchdown this weekend, the most 1-yard touchdowns like ever, and over guys that like it's like 11 in a season. He's had 11 this season, and I think if he gets 12, it's the most in a season of 1-yard touchdowns and that's crazy. But
do you know who had it before by chance, Cody? Or who had the whose number who has it or had it before? Because that one's gonna throw me off for some time here, because I feel like it's like possibly someone we may know during probably like the 90s runs. I feel like would be where you would get those most 1-yard touchdowns, but I could be wrong. That one's interesting. I just thought that was a cool little stat there.
So right now he has 14. Hang on. Let's see. I saw it somewhere.
Is it Mike Allstott?
No, it was like, I wanted to say it was like another. He has 14 right now, though. Like 13.
Was it a running back?
His most 1-yard rushing. Oh, he has the most 1-yard rushing touchdowns with 14 right now. So that's what he has. I thought it was 11, but I was wrong. It's 14. He has more 1-yard rushing touchdowns right now than Derrick Henry does.
That's for this season. For the season.
Yeah, but there was the stat I read, and I'm trying to find it, but
yeah,
I'll find it and I'll send it to you. But I saw it, and it was like the most ever, and I'm like, what? That doesn't even seem like a stat that should even be kept. But
who would have thought, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, Marcus Allen has the most 1-yard rushing touchdowns of all time. And then John Riggins, the old fullback for the Redskins from back in like the 70s and 80s, has the second most. But other than that,
that's still going to today. That's pretty cool though. That hurts his thing.
Yeah,
still got it going.
But I was thinking, like, what did the last time that they played? It was Jaden Daniels was coming off of that injury. Remember, he was hurt,
like ribs injury.
Yeah, right. So he was hurt like week before that, and so I don't know if this game doesn't play different. And obviously, the Eagles' defense is the Eagles' defense, but I don't know if that's what you look at this time, right? So because it's a different, it's kind of different. It's going to be a different game because of that.
Is this one at Washington?
It is. It is in Washington. Yes.
Any love for Devontae Smith coming off that big game last week? I think he had 29 fantasy points, 109 yards and a touchdown. Does that continue this week, you think, in this matchup?
He did. I was trying to think of what he did in the last game.
Because he's been kind of quiet prior, a little bit before that. And I think even in the last matchup, he had only 4 for 6, 4 catches versus 6 targets for 29 yards.
Yeah.
So definitely a sort of a go away. But I mean, now with sort of no Goddard, You got, Calcitretta, but it seems like they're definitely kind of giving all of that workload over to Devontae Smith. It seems like a possibly solid matchup if Lattimore is going to take AJ Brown.
I mean, I think you have to take AJ Brown here and just leave Devontae Smith open. Obviously, let's see. Smitty 92. He's on 70%. He's on the field 70% of the time. Last week he was on the field 92% of the time. He's getting 20% of the target share over the season, and then last week he was getting 37% of the targets. So he's getting more targets than AJ Brown at this point, and it's pretty much all's going to those two. If I'm playing any of the wide receivers out of this game, it's gonna be Smitty over AJ Brown.
Yeah.
Necessarily, he's getting Noah Igbanaga. I can't think of how to say his name. Igbanaganhini. He's got a favorable matchup, actually. I wouldn't, if you need to play him and pair him. Jalen Hurts is one of those guys that you can obviously always run naked without somebody because of his touchdown vulturing that he does.
Yeah.
I would avoid at all costs trying to pair him with Saquon Barkley because of that specific problem. But I don't know if you have to play him, yeah, but I don't know if that you have to play him. I think that this is what the issue is here is like you could play Saquon Barkley because Saquon had like 33 fantasy points. He had 26 attempts for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns against Washington last time they played. Obviously, his production has slipped quite significantly over the last 3 weeks. He hasn't had over 20 fantasy points, which sucks for me. But I think it's like you do one or the other. You don't try to ride. You either ride the Saquon Barkley train by itself and hope to God that Hurts busts, or you don't, because he's at like Saquon averages like 24 points a game, 24 fantasy points a game, or something like that. But I think Hurts has the better matchup here right now.
Agreed.
And you got to pair him with somebody. And if I'm pairing him with you don't actually have to pair him with somebody, but if you do pair him with somebody, it's got to be Smitty as opposed to AJ Brown. Cause I just don't know him and AJ Brown. I still feel like that they're just at one another's throats and they just don't work for one another anymore. And I feel like that's kind of the thing. It was going to be, yeah, like you just said, Casey, Lattimore is going to be eating his lunch the whole game. And AJ's in his own head right now. So I don't know about
AJ
that.
did have a touchdown last week. So they're definitely going to try to at least scheme him up. But I agree that the Lattimore matchup just makes sort of a boom game, makes it harder to forecast that.
And then, of course, on the other side of the ball, you have, like I said, you have your Jaden Daniels and the Scary Terry show. Thank God this is the week that I happen to draw the bye and I don't have to worry about that problem. But it's Scary Terry had a whole 2 fantasy points against the Eagles last time. So they don't allow.
That was just one game that he had sort of a bad game, whereas the remaining ones after that, it was multiple targets, double-digit fantasy points moving forward. I wonder if this one he at least has I think he definitely, goes over the 2 points. I think they have him as I think 13, 14 on the fantasy projection.
I mean, he's like 80%. He's on the field like 80% of the time. It's literally no one is even half as much on the field is half as much as him. That's a wide receiver. So, and then last week it was almost 90%.
And he's had 4 touchdowns versus the Eagles in the past, so he knows how to get into the end zone versus the Eagles. So, I
I
think he
think
has
if you're
definitely a
pairing
better
him,
game than he had before.
you feel like running him, you're pairing him with Daniels and hoping that this game plays over. But this
Yep.
game could easily just be another divisional matchup and sleeper and not even make this 45 points.
21-17 or 26-18 as it came in the last matchup. I see the same, and I also see the Eagles taking this one again.
Yeah. And then like I was only thinking about what's Brian Robinson looking like? Yeah, nobody loves B-Rob at all. I mean, he's getting volume,
Not against that defense.
but I don't think so.
With Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis on the other side.
He's really it's really all that they've got, right? Him and behind him is what Jeremy McNichols and Chris Rodriguez or whatever his name is. So,
and they haven't really been featuring the other 2 backs that much in the offense, unless the game's kind of gotten away.
Yeah, definitely. So I think I'm gonna be the weird one and say I think that the Commanders win this game. Nice. I think it because they play a little bit lower, and that they need this game, a lot, and they needed to stay they're more of their head above the water in the playoff hunt, because right now that they're actually the 7 seed in the the 7 seed in the playoffs. 7 seed, yeah. They're the last team in right now. So they need this win. So I'm gonna give the Commanders the benefit of the doubt here and say the Commanders take this win. So the next one, game we saw on Thanksgiving relived.
Yes.
Shout out to Monty. He's not done for the season, supposedly. They said that he might could play. Talked about this last night on the KC show. And he was like, Casey's like, oh, don't play again, don't play anymore. Your leg's gonna fall off.
Was it a meniscus tear?
PCL or MCL? Was it MCL or PCL? One of the two.
With an M, he might be able to come back.
Yeah, I believe it's an M, I think. And like they said, it's not really as bad. He got like a third opinion, and the doctor said, okay, well maybe.
If it's the M.
But if they wrap up the number 1 seed in the NFC, if they win, they get that number 1 seed. I think you see him in the divisional round.
I see that. I can see that as well. But there's no real reason right now to rush him back. I think they can definitely get through. The interesting thing about this game is I remember that Caleb Williams actually had his sort of best game of the year. I think he has had his best game of the year, actually against the Lions. I believe that was the game he threw the 3 touchdowns in. And so I think if this is what's the motivation behind that 47-5 is that, of course you're going to see the Lions score, the points that they do. But I think what they're seeing on the other side is that the Bears have the capability of also probably putting up at least 2 to 3 offensive touchdowns as well in this matchup.
So injuries, Brian Branch, safety, questionable with the calf injury. Graham Glasgow, I believe he's their right guard, questionable with a knee. Fitu Melifonwu, there's another safety, questionable with a hand. Of course, no Monty, and no linebacker Jalen Reeves-Maybin. For the Bears, no Ryan Bates, one of their guards. Javon Dexter Sr., I think he's a depth defensive tackle, questionable. Travis Homer, backup running back that no one cares about anymore, out with a hamstring. Tevin Jenkins, one of their other guards, questionable with a calf. Jalen Johnson, their number 1 corner, questionable with an illness and did not practice. And Braxton Jones concussion is a tackle with he's questionable. So you are correct. Caleb Williams 3 passing touchdowns against the Detroit Lions in their last matchup. 256 yards, had 26.1 fantasy points in the game that got Eberflus fired because of that
was horrible,
weird ending to that ball game.
To let the clock run out in that last game.
Yeah, that was
real weird.
That was the weirdest damn thing I think I've ever seen in a football game. Like you're professionals. Like why does it look like this is Pee Wee squad out here doing dumb shit like that?
That was bad.
Yeah, it was weird bad.
You thought someone would have said something at some point, but like, those things type of happen. But I actually, in this matchup, I actually like Sam Laporta tomorrow, and I know that he's had 3 straight double-digit fantasy games, and he's also had 6+ targets. And I really like that 6 to 8 range for the target share on tight ends. He's kind of been acquired a little bit from what he did last year. Definitely not as, but I think when you have so many mouths to feed, you kind of go away from that. But I think with Monty out, sort of someone who you can kind of peg to get additional workload, I think it's Laporta here because they're still going to run the ball. And I think the play action off of it will set up Laporta for more success down the road as they kind of finish up and we'll kind of enter the fantasy playoffs here.
It was his 2 touchdown game against the Bears.
And yep, he's had good performances against them.
6 yards and 2 touchdowns.
A funky stat there.
Yeah. I mean, of course, no Monty, so that's why you're seeing Jahmyr Gibbs is the highest owned running back on the slate.
Of course.
I mean, he takes up all of the ownership. But your Caleb Williams play, he's the 4th highest owned quarterback on the slate. So everybody's seeing what you saw, and of course he's priced pretty low. I mean, he's only 5,500, so he's a go crazy and stack him wherever you can type play. Like, I mean, he's stackable with the likes of the Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. Yeah, and Rome. Obviously,
any Rome love?
Rome has not lived up to what I thought that we actually thought he would this season. I don't know if it's because he's kind of he's behind in the depth chart behind Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, but I think the one that you're looking for the most here is on the screen. It's DJ Moore. It's like if you're running a Caleb Williams stack here, it's you pairing him with DJ Moore and if you want to get wild and crazy and double stack him, it's you running him and Keenan Allen, but I don't think that you have to do both. And then you bring it back with you want to pay on a chalk for eat the Jahmyr Gibbs chalk, which is he's one of those guys that is a chalk that you could eat tomorrow for sure because he is going to be the driving force in the offense.
Agreed.
Or you bring it back with, like you said, the Sam Laporta because of the second option. Now, if you're getting silly for the Millie type shit, Craig Reynolds, there, the other running back that's going to fill in the role behind Jahmyr Gibbs. We've seen it before. I believe that Craig Reynolds has come in, I think it was last season, when one of the two of them were out and did a little bit of damage control. I think I'm pretty sure it was last season. Yeah, I mean, he had a game last season. He had 7 attempts for 52 yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, it's not terrible. No. But that's just crazy 150 max silly for the Millie type plays. But
I know you said you liked DJ Moore, but I actually like Keenan Allen in this one with the matchup. Allen. He's had 2 of his last 3 games. He's had 20 plus fantasy points, 8, 5, and 13 on the target share across those 3 games. So it seems like he's definitely getting worked into the offense. DJ Moore definitely has the big play potential, the ability to kind of score also off of those those short sort of screen routes. So I definitely like the DJ Moore play, but I just think in this matchup, sort of if this one kind of gets away from him, and the score kind of goes up, I could see him kind of eating up on those intermediate sort of in route, dig routes, and just from the PPR perspective, really kind of cashing in tomorrow.
The Keenan Allen play is pretty solid because of Amik Robertson, who gets fried out of the slot quite often. And Keenan Allen's a bigger target than Amik Robertson. Amik Robertson is only 5'8", and Keenan Allen's 6'2". So coming out of the slot, that's a significant height advantage. And I think that could, like I said, I think you're good to pair him with either one of them. But it's just that Keenan Allen has the better matchup, but DJ Moore gets the volume.
Yep.
So one of them it's going to be make or break for both of them. I think they both could be great plays if you're pairing them with Caleb Williams. So that's a thought. Obviously, you love your Amon-Ra St. Browns, but he didn't do. What did he in the last matchup? Did he even score? Was that the game that he didn't even score in? We thought he would, and he didn't.
Or did he only score? Oh,
he had 12. He had 12 fantasy points. He went 5 receptions on 7 targets for 73 yards. So
that's it.
It's not enough for somebody like him that you need scoring from because of his price. Like nobody's really on any bot. I mean, he's 7,900. So again, you've got to get that almost 30 to 35 fantasy points for him to hit value. Now it's very possible. Now, if Jalen Johnson does not play, like shit could turn upside down and it could be a very pass heavy game. So kind of keep that in mind. I mean, might even spin the wheel and try to get a little bit of Jameson Williams, because I think Jameson Williams had a big game in that.
No, he
did not. He did not.
That was the one where he didn't. But I do like the Jameson Williams play just for the fact that he is getting consistently 5 to 7 targets. I'm big on the target share look, and I just think eventually that's going to turn loose. He has the speed, that breakaway speed. All it takes is a sort of a play action play and a pop pass down the field, and he could end up having a bigger game off of just those 5 to 7 targets. If you want to kind of get off of, your more traditional chalk, that could be a potential play tomorrow, because again, they should score a good deal against that Bears defense. It's just a matter of with the offense score enough to get over that 47-5 for the Bears tomorrow.
And again, I like Tim Patrick too, because Tim Patrick's on the field so much. Dude's on the field 65% of the snaps. And I mean, last week he was on there higher than that. So he's getting 6. He's again 7 or 8 targets a game, and he's dirt cheap. I mean, he's literally 4,500 and has 1% ownership. So he's like he's the Nick Westbrook Akine style price range and guy that can blow up the slate, break the slate. So if you stack heavy on the Bears side and you want to bring it back with somebody that's like that, like a Tim Patrick, that's a possible bring back as well. Or, I mean, nobody likes Jared Goff at all, because I think this is going to be nothing but a running ball game. So that's why he's so low. But if Jalen Johnson doesn't play, that makes me like the pass game there for for them a little bit better. I mean,
Oh yeah.
so I mean he had 220 yards and 2 touchdowns in the last time that they played. So Jared Goff did.
I see something similar, 2 to 3 touchdowns tomorrow as well.
Yeah. So, but I think
I like the
the
Lions in this match. Yep, I like the Lions in this.
Lions for sure, 100%. Although it's in Chicago, 6.5 points. I'm gonna say the Bears cover. I'm gonna say the Bears cover again. I think this is a 3-point ball game, and I think this comes down to Jake Bates. Jake Bates' leg here. So, yeah, 47.5. That sounds about right. It could obviously it could go over. So the next one, our man James Conner and with the Cardinals and the Panthers, 47 points, 4.5. That's weird. A 4.5 point spread to the Cardinals. So 25 3/4 to the 21 1/4 to the Panthers. It's just a weird spread.
A lot of Panther love coming down the stretch. A lot of Panther love coming down the stretch.
Well, Steven, we usually answer the questions at the end, but you might get that answer from this one. We already talked a little bit about Jaden. So last time they played, didn't do so well. He was hurt. But here in this matchup, Kyler Murray has one of the best matchups of the weekend. The Panthers are 27th against the 27th ranked defense against the quarterback.
Yep, I'm seeing the exact same. I see Kyler kind of to even answer that question. Really, I see Kyler over Jaden. Short answer. I just like this matchup tomorrow against the Panthers. Just as Cody said, just middle of the pack. I just also like the weapons that he's coming over with Connor and Marvin Harrison Jr. Starting to find it, I think, down the stretch because he's kind of gone away there.
Oh yeah, we've seen him before. It's Kyler Murray, man. Like literally, he always if he has a great matchup, sometimes he doesn't do the best. But Kyler Murray's one of those guys he's a was it a gamer, if you will. So I think let's see, 27th ranked defense against the position. I mean, I think this game lends to James Conner. I mean, personally, in my preference, I would rather Jaden Daniels go off, like literally, because I have a personal connection there because I have him myself. But I think they get more involved with James Conner here because the defense here with the Panthers is so subject to the run. I mean, he is literally on the field all the time. And they have no backup behind him right now because Amari DeMarcado, I believe, is still not playing. So just since I started with that, or no Trey Benson, so that's the other backup. So no Trey Benson. Evan Brown, guard, questionable with a neck injury. Sean Murphy Bunting, slot corner, questionable with a hand injury. DJ Dallas, questionable with an illness. So that's another running back. Paris Johnson, their tackle, out with a knee injury. Elijah Jones, one of their corners, out with an ankle. Roy Lopez, questionable with an ankle. Jesse Lukita, linebacker, out with a thigh injury. Still without Matt Prater, their kicker, and Mac Wilson, another linebacker, out with a concussion. And then for the Panthers, Jadeveon Clowney, questionable with a knee, but he practiced. Jalen Coker, questionable with a quad, but he practiced. Ikem Ekwonu, the tackle, out with a questionable with the illness. Robert Hunt, their guard that came over from Miami, I believe. Questionable with the illness. No Xavier Legette, out with a hip injury. David Moore, wide receiver, questionable with a concussion, and Ashawn Robinson, defensive end, questionable with a knee injury. So, really tells me what I need to know, that there's not a damn pass catcher there in Carolina other than Adam Thielen.
Thielen. Yep. I mean, Thielen's had 2+ games of over 20+ fantasy points, so it's definitely in his repertoire. He can definitely do it. He can take on that workload. But my only wonder is, do they just take him away? I think he only had a handful of targets in the last game. But the previous 2 games, he had double-digit fantasy points. They're really targeting him, but it seems like almost the defenses are realizing that they need to kind of take him away in order to kind of slow down the Panthers, with Bryce Young playing a little bit better on that side. Of course, the guy up on the top there, Hubbard, he's had 5 games of over 20+ fantasy points, but I just don't think this matchup is going to be one of them. I really like the Cardinals defense versus the Panthers tomorrow, kind of lock them down. I just think from a matchup standpoint, they have the ability to do that with Buda Baker and company in order to set this matchup, which actually lends well to Kyler Murray. It lends well to Connor, in the sense that I think they should get a couple more chances to a couple more possessions in order to move the ball more effectively and continue to kind of add up more productive stats.
Well, here, nobody. Adam Thielen is only drawing about 8%, little 8.5% of the ownership right now. He's got a good matchup. He's 5,600. I think if this is the Panthers that we saw up until last week, until Bryce Young went back on that bullshit like he was on last week, this has got to be driven through Chuba and Adam Thielen. That's
all they got.
Only competent offensive people that they have. And Jalen Coker, the undrafted rookie, or I think he's a rookie. I believe he's a rookie. He's been a great piece to have, but he's still questionable. He's practiced, but he's still questionable. So if he doesn't play, then like you said, it goes all to Adam Thielen. Everybody's gonna be going to Adam Thielen, and they need Chuba Hubbard to take off. Chuba Hubbard is last week, can't even get a freaking couldn't even get a damn touchdown against Dallas. So when he was easily the best pick to get a touchdown in that game, and he didn't. So on the Carolina side, I mean the Arizona side of the ball, you have Trey McBride is the highest owned tight end at $6,200, and he's 16% ownership. Everybody else is literally half of that.
I think this is the game where he kind of breaks that, like,
where he gets the
touchdown curse. Yeah, I see this as being that game where he breaks it, which is what, again, will lead to a better Kyler Murray performance. I think if he's going to throw one, I see him being the person who actually I think they're kind of getting tired of that whole thing where he's getting all these
5 straight games of 10+ targets, man.
There's no way that trend continues. I see that one falling tomorrow.
5 straight games.
Put a stamp on it. I'll stamp that up. Put the KA stamp on that.
Like, I don't dislike that at all. I mean, I could see that it does pay off for him. I think that probably somebody else that you could look at, obviously, he's Marvin Harrison Jr. He's got a good matchup, a favorable matchup too. Because J.C. Horn has not been living up to what J.C. Horn has been doing. And so he's going to draw. I think that he's a great play, and he's only 5,400. The defense has just been awful. And if Kyler Murray plays competent ball tomorrow, it's going to go to – they're going to have to stack the box because James Conner is going to be running it down their throat. And then what else is going to happen? Kyler Murray is going to have time to sit back there and pick, okay, am I going to throw the ball to Trey McBride, or am I going to throw it to MHJ? And you could even get a little bit, maybe even in a deeper tournament, a little bit exposure to good old Michael Wilson as well because of the matchup. Like, this could be out of hand quickly, or it could be a good game. And we've seen Carolina put up prior to
points.
last week. So
Yeah. I mean, the Cardinals won the last matchup 26-16, and so a little bit under that 47 total, but I think this one goes a little bit higher. I think it does actually go over that 47 total with the Cardinals taking the W here. I like the weapons here. I like McBride, I like Connor, and I like Marvin Harrison Jr. against that Panthers defense. Just a little bit more. I just think that the Cardinals on the other side, again with Buda Baker, will have the ability to sort of kind of shut down what they're doing for Thielen, which would then kind of make them sort of one-dimensional from that standpoint.
I mean, Chuba Hubbard is still up there as the third highest owned running back. So that's really all that they've got. You can see that,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, and he's got a good matchup. So he's eligible to play in the play field, especially at 6,800. He's literally probably the best play in that 66 to 7,000, 66 to 7 ish price range. So it's just that's why his ownership's so high, and that's really all that they're going to. And with no Brooks, since Brooks got hurt again, it's all the Chuba Hubbard show. So,
yep.
But I like the Cardinals here. 4.5 points is just a weird number for me. I don't even know if it gets 47 points though. I'm gonna take the Cards, and the under is what I'll say. I think it goes under that.
Same.
So let's go to. Hey Alex, we will answer that question once we get to the we have 2 more games we're gonna go over, and then we will answer that question for you. Actually, just one game left.
Just
My
one.
bad. Yeah. The AFC East game that really kind of already is. I mean, obviously the Bills are already the AFC East champions, and this means more for their playoff seeding than anything. They were rooting for a Texans win today, but it didn't happen. I don't know. They're saying that the Bills are going to put up over 30 on the Patriots. I think if the Patriots don't score, why are you even they're just going to take their foot off the gas. I don't even know if they keep their foot down on him if the Patriots aren't scoring.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't know if this one's going over the 46-5. Again, I know I always say it, but these division matchup games a lot of times play a little bit lower. You have 2 pretty solid. I mean, actually the defense for the Patriots are fairly solid. Middle of the pack a little bit under. So they definitely compete. They're just not just gonna, just get blown out every week. May on the other side has been competitive. Definitely kind of shown a little bit more than what I thought he was going to be able to do for the Patriots. Starting this year, definitely is a little bit more mobile than what I thought it was kind of coming out of UNC. So it's definitely been good to see. But kind of swinging over back on the other side, I know that Allen has had multiple games of double-digit fantasy points, of course, but I just see this one, unfortunately, for the playoff people coming down a little bit. I just don't see it being, because I just don't see the game flow requiring for him to throw 5 touchdown passes in this game.
Absolutely,
I see it getting a little bit more on the ground, and just kind of get this W and get on out.
Absolutely not. I mean, he doesn't have to play like he has been playing. I mean, the last 2 games have been against teams that are actually pushing them to the limit, against Detroit and the Rams, who actually can score. And then the week before that was against San Francisco. That was a shy of 30. And the week before that was against Kansas City. That was a shy of 25. But these teams that don't have to that they're not putting up points against, like Indianapolis, he only had 18 points. Against Miami, had 22. Against Seattle, had 19. These teams that aren't putting up a lot of points, he's not putting up value worth. Now, he's eligible for you to run out there. I guess maybe if you're paying down at other places and you want to try that $8,700 at quarterback, but that kills your lineup. You need what he's been putting up. You need that 40 points. Almost, right at 40 points to make him worth the while. And he has the ability to do it. But I don't see them needing to go to him as much when they can lean on like James Cook here, because the Patriots run game is so bad against the run. I just don't see him having to do that like he's had to in the last couple of weeks.
Be
now
Superman.
He could be that like Jalen Hurts type golfing touchdowns, vulturing touchdowns at the end zone like he has been doing recently, or from 2 or 3 yards out. Yes, but I don't.
Yep.
I am not prepared to play him in DFS at 8,700 against a team that doesn't put up points, and they're not going to have to put up the points. So I honestly, and I don't like anybody on the other side of the ball, like literally nobody from New England. Maybe Ramondre Stevenson. Maybe you could in a deeper tournament play him. I mean, because the Bills aren't the greatest. They have the almost the worst defense against the running back, because he gets a little catches, he gets a little running. But if this game gets away from them, are they going to abandon him, or are they just going to keep feeding him the rock to try to get on to the next one?
Yeah, I think that the
only ownership.
I mean, maybe a Bourne here who's gotten, a handful of targets in the last few games. He gets 5 to 6 targets per game, but the production and the fantasy production points hasn't necessarily been there. I mean, I like the guy on the screen. He's had all but one game of double-digit fantasy points. I think it's partially being led from the fact that he does rush, and he has those rushing attempts at least 5+ per game. So he's using his legs. I guess if you want to kind of get different, almost, I would say him. If this goes to 46.5, like Vegas is saying, it could involve him then running for maybe 2, maybe throwing 1 Drake May in order to kind of get to that total. But maybe Vegas is on something.
This could be I mean, we saw it when they played the Texans. Drake May, that game was over roughly, and Drake May's out here starts dealing, right? So he is the lowest owned quarterback, and he's only 5,800. I mean, I've seen crazier things, people pairing a Drake May with a Hunter Henry and then bringing it back with like a James Cook, hoping that, okay, James Cook goes off out in front and it takes Hunter Henry and Drake May and the likes of whatever insert here third wide receiver for the Patriots, like Keyshawn Booty, or like you said, Kendrick Bourne or Demario Douglas, whichever one you want to throw out there, because the Bills defense has been susceptible to that. And if they pull back on the reins and Mitch Trubisky's out there at the third quarter and the Patriots are still playing for pride, right? Trying to keep Gerard Mayo's job. So it could be a Drake May type sighting. We could see it, but I'm not putting my stamp on it. Like that's not somebody I'm running to the mountains and saying, hey, you got to get in your lineup. So I honestly think this one is a easy one to, as Phil always says, that game, his conspiracy theory in the afternoon window, the game that's supposed to score the highest in the afternoon window that doesn't score the highest, it's going to be this one. I don't know if the Bills even get to 30 points, because then I feel like that I feel like they're just going to beat up on the Bills. I mean, on the Pats, and it just, the clock runs really quick and the game's over, and you're stuck in the afternoon window watching your Jags and their Raiders. And that's the game that nobody cared about watching, but it's the one that's still on right up until Sunday Night Football because Mac Jones and Aiden O'Connell are out here just winging it.
Dueling.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
So
right. Yeah, I like the Bills again in this matchup. Not necessarily easily, but I just think that they do more than enough, but under that 46-5.
yeah.
I think the last matchup played 27-21. So
Yeah. So okay. So Shadow said he said pick 2, 1 wide receiver and 1 flex. MHJ, Thielen, McMillan, Shaw White, Jerome Ford, Kendra Miller, Patrick Taylor. I'm hoping this is PPR because I'm gonna go in at that with with PPR.
I like MHJ tomorrow in that matchup against Panthers. I wonder if Thielen gets taken away. I do like Jerome Ford sneakily in the Browns versus Bengals matchup because I think that he might get some passes out of the backfield, some dump ball passes, and I think that Judy may not have as a stronger game. So I guess the 2 I would probably go is MHJ and well,
I mean, Patrick Taylor's drawing
is Bucky Irving playing? Because if he's playing, that Rashard White makes that a little bit tougher. I like Jerome Ford from the fact that he's going to be basically him by himself back there. Whereas with Rashard White, you run into this.
They get that's Monday night, right? No, that's a nighttime game. So as of right now, no, Cade Otton is doubtful. Okay. No Antoine Woodfield. So Bucky Irving is not on the injury report. So that scares me for Rashad White.
That's what I like. That's what makes me lean more was for Kendra Miller is the Saints running back.
Yeah.
And I think what Kamara's out.
Yes. And that's
And
Monday
Patrick
night.
Taylor for the 49ers. Yeah, I like Ford and MHJ in this list here. McMillan's coming on. I will say that, but his target share isn't that high. So it's kind of boom or bust. Whereas I think MHJ might have a little bit more targets.
My thought only would be that I don't like Kendre Miller because I'm not sold on him being because he still have Jamal Williams to overcome. Like Jamal Williams can always come there and steal something from him at this point, even though AK is supposedly might be done for the season. Patrick Taylor is so interesting to me. Without Isaac Guerrero, Patrick Taylor's getting the start. And what do 49ers running backs do? They tend to score.
Yeah, they do.
And so I like MHJ. I don't think you go wrong with MHJ or even Thielen. And maybe Patrick Taylor or Jerome Ford. But I like if you're going 2 wide receivers, you need to go MHJ and Thielen. If you're going a wide receiver and a running back in this case, I think maybe MHJ and maybe Ford. Ford's not a bad thought here, just because that's all they've really got in Cleveland. And if I don't think even if they get out and if Cincinnati starts running away with it, I still think they have to go to Ford. You can't just totally abandon the run. But Patrick Taylor's going to get his. So in this case, find something that's going to hurt your opponent more. Is my more thought. So like if they have a Cincinnati defense, maybe it's Jerome Ford. If they have a Miami defense, maybe it's Patrick Taylor. Or if they have a Brock Purdy, you might want to run Patrick Taylor instead, because if Patrick Taylor's running the ball, it's taken away from Brock Purdy throwing the ball. If you got to kind of pick and choose your battles, but I don't think you go wrong with either MHJ and Thielen or MHJ and either Ford or Patrick Taylor. Okay, so this was bench Kenny Walker, Drake London, or Garrett Wilson. Let me see. I'm gonna see if Kenny Walker.
I'm gonna say Walker. I'm gonna go with London and Garrett because I like the Garrett matchup for sure. I know London's gonna have a new quarterback, but I think his style of play will still be fine to match with the quarterback. So I like London and Garrett tomorrow.
Who is your other running back if you're thinking about benching Kenny Walker? I mean, that's my thing. Like I'm wanting to know who your other running back is, who that you're trying to bench, that you're keeping on your team for Kenny, not for Kenny Walker, because Kenny Walker's was a number one running back until he got hurt. So that's what's interesting to me. At this point, I think it's benching Kenny Walker because of the unknown of how he's going to be. His matchup is, let's see what the matchup is. The better. Because they play who? They play the Vikings, who has been a pretty decent run defensive team. And if they get behind, are they going to abandon the run? Is this going to be a Jackson Smith and Jigba and DK Metcalf show? I think that Drake London has to show with the new quarterback that he can be the number one with the new quarterback. So I think that's probably a good play. And then Garrett Wilson, like we said earlier, I think he's the better matchup of the two on the Jets for tomorrow's game, just because everybody's going to shift to Devontae Adams. So Magic says he's scared to play any of Darnold or JSN because of the weather. See? There's the thought right there.
Watch that weather too on all the matchups, because that could definitely throw a wrench in things. Especially on the playoff time, you don't want to get caught up.
Anybody Seattle like that. So Civic asked us, what do we think about Neighbors? Are you asking like on the season, or like, I mean, he was one of the guys that Brad and I both were pretty high on coming into the season.
Because we knew he was going to be a target monster, and sure enough, he was.
Yes, triple digits, literally. I
mean, it sucks from the quarterback standpoint, but I mean, I think you still got to keep rolling them out there from the fact that there's only so many options for the New York Giants, and so he's definitely clear number one. And you're going to run him out there, get those, try to take advantage of that target share.
Yeah, he's still.
I think he's great in and out of his routes.
He's
has speed to get over the top.
He's falling.
Quarterback play has just been crushing him a little bit, but definitely him by himself individually is definitely going to be a top talent in the league for years to come.
Wide receiver number 10 on the season. He was like 6.
It's really good actually for a rookie.
But your guy Brian Thomas Jr. is number 7. So yeah, and then kind of back to the last question. Drake London and Garrett Wilson are wide receiver 8 and wide receiver 9. So there's kind of your answers.
Yep.
Both of those guys with over 115 targets. Garrett Wilson 134, and literally Garrett Wilson has 134 targets, and you would have never known it because Devontae Adams is there. So just my thoughts. Let's see. Okay, so Steven says we kind of answered this question. I think Kyler might be your better play. Personally, I have to run Jaden Daniels because that's my quarterback, and I want to try to win. I'm going to buy, so still playing for a top score of the week. I'm hoping it's different. Jaden, I think Kyler Williams here. They both have a lot to play for. So whatever is best is the best pairing for you. And again, kind of like what I said before, it hurts your opponent. That's always the way I would like to play. So like literally if I was playing this weekend, I had someone was playing Seattle, I might just risk this damn Sam Darnold play myself and play freaking Sam Darnold just so I could hurt that person with Seattle's defense. That's just me. And if Alex says Love or Rodgers.
As I was saying earlier, Rodgers did come off 30-point fantasy game against the Jaguars. Had multiple touchdown passes, seemed to really get it going. But I'm not sure. And I like that Jets-Rams matchup. I think they're middle of the pack versus the pass. Who's Green Bay playing again?
Saints in Green Bay on Monday night.
Saints in Green Bay.
Yeah.
The Saints take on the Packers on
Monday. Insane. So
without Alvin Kamara, no Bub Means, no Chris Olave. MVS is questionable with a chest and an illness. Obviously, no Derek Carr. Saints are absolutely going to be nothing.
I think they run the ball, though. Monday night in Lambeau, going to be cold. I see them running a little bit more. I don't think they have to do too much, whereas I think Rodgers, in order to win, is going to have to air it out. I know that was on our slate for over 46 fantasy points. So if Vegas is right, there's definitely, I think, more potential for Rodgers to have a bigger game than Love.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, I mean, Love is Love. He's been what he's been recently, but I'm not in the game. I mean, they have 28. They're 28 point team total. It's is a higher than I expected it to be. It's 42.5 points, but they're only given. Saints only have 14 of those, and the rest of them are all Packers. So,
but Packers usually again start to run it when they start to get up.
They don't Alex, really. Do you have anybody? And you have anybody that's gonna that you're pairing them with? Like you're pairing Love or Rodgers with? Do you have Garrett Wilson or a Devontae Adams or even a Romeo Doubs or Jaden Reed or?
Because that could matter too.
I mean that
could change some things.
I just don't.
But I do like Rodgers over Love. Just the matchup seems better.
I think that Jordan Love could come out here and wing a couple and it'd be done. He has Adams and Jacobs.
Oh.
Then you need to play Rodgers. Just for simple fact of the matter is you need scores. You need Jacobs to run the ball, and you hope that it's a running ball game, and you need Aaron Rodgers to throw the ball to Devontae Adams. That's three. That's just what you.
Those three right there, Cody.
Yep. I just think that's what you need. You need it to be a running ball game because the Saints are total ass against the run, like literally dog shit against the run. And Aaron Rodgers is going against a Rams defense that just got obliterated a couple weeks ago by Josh Allen and his 550 whatever it was, or 3 touchdowns and here and there. Like Aaron Rodgers could be Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is in full, like, I have nothing to play for at this point but my pride and dignity and decide if I'm really going to play next season or not. And I think Aaron Rodgers just gets out here and is just having fun at this point. So you're hoping to pair him with Devontae Adams, because every time Devontae Adams scores, Aaron Rodgers scores.
Yeah.
And Josh Jacobs doesn't catch the ball that much. Like, he doesn't. So you're not getting you're losing out on points with Jordan Love than when you could be getting them with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. That's just my 2 cents. I'm not a pro. I just play a lot. So, but anybody else has questions, thoughts? I know we will not be live on Wednesday because that is Christmas. There are some games on Christmas. So if you guys have questions about or thoughts about those, anybody going to watch the Netflix games? I got to thinking today that the 4 teams that were playing today are the exact same 4 teams that are playing on Christmas. So the Chiefs play the Steelers, and my Texans play the Ravens. It's exactly the same 4 teams.
Wow.
And they had new patches on their jerseys, like candy canes and shit.
I saw that.
It's
hopefully everyone can watch the streams if Netflix steps up to the plate. Please step up to the plate.
Let's hope so.
Please don't mess that up.
Let's hope so.
It'd be nice to have some Christmas football. That's nice.
Oh yeah, it always is when you get that and you get to see. I mean, I know they're trying to I know the NBA hates the NFL right now.
Pissed.
Because of
they're gonna lose all their Christmas game ratings.
Yeah.
For the basketball.
I mean, there's so many of them. I'm like, what the hell? So,
at least there's something to choose, though. It's nice little options.
Yeah.
But if there's nothing else,
if you guys don't have any other questions, we will leave you guys with a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Give all of your family our deepest and most thoughtful, and we appreciate you guys hanging in there with us and being here with us as our extended family through the last few holidays and everything. So we hope that you walk out of this weekend with a Christmas miracle. Maybe get one more win to get into the playoffs. Some of you will probably have championships next weekend. So we will see you guys on Saturday after Christmas and
ready to go.
Get ready for 2025. So
yes, sir.
We appreciate it, and we will see you guys later on.
Peace.
Peace out. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, y'all.